Okay guys, let's talk about Xbox Series X versus PS5. If you're anything like me, you've been trying to get your hands on one of the pre-orders. They both sold out ridiculously fast, and I think a lot of people probably had bots that were grabbing them automatically. Now there's issues. Some of the retailers are saying now that they might not be able to fulfill the pre-orders on launch day. But we'll do a quick comparison. We're going to do the disc version of the PS5 versus the Xbox Series S. As far as like spec comparison goes, price, stuff like that. They both come in at $499. The reason we're not going to do a comparison between the digital PS5 and the Xbox Series S is because there really is no comparison. The PS5 digital edition is exactly the same as the PS5 version with the disc. The Xbox Series X is a completely different system than the Xbox Series S. The Xbox Series S comes in at only 4 teraflops of computing power for the graphics. To put that in perspective, the PS4 Pro for this current generation currently comes in at 4.2 teraflops of computing power, which isn't even the most powerful console out at this point in time. The Xbox One X would be that console. I truly think the Xbox Series S is going to be a bottleneck for developers as far as next-gen consoles go, which may cause you to see a lot more exclusives on PS5, even than you did in the PS4 generation. The only thing that might put a wrench in that at this moment is the purchase that Microsoft made of Bethesda. So it's kind of unclear at the moment on whether or not they're going to use that to make exclusives for Xbox, or if they're just going to use it to make money in general. I'm DocValentino. I do tech tutorials, unboxings, reviews, and anything that has to do with a video game. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, like this video, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think about this video. Leave some suggestions for future videos that you'd like to see. And thanks for watching. Now getting into the comparison of PS5 versus Xbox Series X. As far as the CPU goes, they're both very comparable in each of the systems. They both are 8-core AMD Zen 2 processors. The Xbox Series X does come in a little bit ahead at 3.8 gigahertz versus 3.5 gigahertz in the PS5. Now on paper, you're going to see a difference in graphics processing between the Xbox Series X and the PS5. The Xbox Series X is coming in at 12.15 teraflops of computing power for the graphics versus the 10.28 on the PS5. Now that doesn't mean that you're going to have noticeable graphic difference between the two systems. They're going to be very comparable, and you're not even going to be able to tell by the naked eye. They both tout 16 gigabytes of RAM, and those are both GDDR6. Both consoles can both output 120 Hz, trying to reach 120 frames per second, targeting a 4K output, and both systems will be able to display on 8K displays, but that doesn't mean that they're rendering graphics in 8K. Now you're going to see some differences in the storage for these units. They both use a solid state drive. The Xbox Series X is going to have a 1 terabyte drive versus the one in the PS5 at 825 gigabytes. But where the big difference comes in is the speed of those drives. The throughput on the Xbox Series X is only 2.4 gigabytes per second. Now I say only 2.4 gigabytes per second, that's still pretty fast drive. It's a really fast drive. But the throughput on the PS5 is 5.5 gigabytes per second of raw throughput. Now what that means is that you are going to see a noticeable difference in load times between these two systems. The PS5 is definitely going to load games faster than the Xbox Series X. The optical drives will both be able to play 4K UHD Blu-rays, and they both release in November, the Xbox releasing on November 10th, and the PS5 releasing on November 12th, 2 days later. Again, they both come in at $499. Some things that might help you make a decision on which one's best for you could be your backlog of games. Now the PS5 is saying that it will play 99% of PS4 games, but they've all but confirmed that it will not play any generation prior to that. While Xbox is sticking to backwards compatibility to play games back to the first generation Xbox. It might be a difficult decision to choose between which next-gen console you're going to get. Me personally, I'm going to get them both, but I've had a difficult time trying to get my hands on a pre-order. So I might not be able to do unboxings on those to compare the two until sometime at the beginning of next year or whenever stock replenishes for both systems. Now, if you are up in the air between the two, a couple things that might help your decision making would be, do you have any backlog of games for this current generation or generations prior? And where does that lie in importance for where you go moving forward? For me, if I wasn't getting both systems and I had to choose between the two, I would be going with the PS5 for a couple reasons. The PS5 will have better load times due to the high throughput SSD that it uses, and it has an NVMe SSD slot that is not proprietary for memory expansion, while the Xbox Series X limits you to a proprietary drive that you can buy for $200 and some. A couple other reasons why the PS5 gets the edge for me is the controller is going to have adaptive feedback triggers, meaning that the triggers can give you resistance points on games like first-person shooters and stuff like that. On the other hand, the Xbox controllers are going to be forwards compatible with the new Xbox. And then one last thing that the PS5 gets the edge for me is the 3D audio technology that they're going to use. It is going to sound amazing compared to this generation's, and even compared to the Xbox Series X, if I had to guess. PS5 also supports VR, which Xbox hasn't announced any kind of support for. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.
Gas is closing in. Relocating the safe zone.
Team wipe 10.
Reown the win.
Oh, that's you.
Gas is closing in. Relocating the safe zone.
Got him. Boom.